Hey everybody, it's Ryan Scott from churchsetup.com, and today we're doing a one-take video to show you how to set up one of our premium one-camera kits from start to finish. Hey, I had to break in here because I noticed something that some people might question a little bit. I shot that entire video setting up that entire system, and I used this microphone that's meant to be right here by my mouth, and I actually have a noise gate set on this, which if you're not an audio nerd, a noise gate basically means that it has to be loud in order to be picked up by the microphone, has to pass a certain volume level before the microphone will pick it up. Otherwise the microphone shuts off. And so it's kind of gate. Once the noise gets high enough, the gate will open and let sound through. And once it drifts back quieter, that gate closes that way. Because I live in downtown Seattle, there's city noise and things like that. If I'm not talking, it shuts down my microphone completely. And that's because I'm set up here in kind of a podcast studio in my office. But what happened is when I was recording that whole video, I set the microphone and it was a long ways away. And the noise gate is set to be right here next to my mouth. And so you can hear in the audio every now and then it ducks way down, and that's because the gate is closing, because I wasn't close to the mic like the microphone is set up to be. In all cases with streaming in church, whenever you're streaming, you're not going to have a noise gate on your microphones or anything like that. This is simply a podcast setup. But I wanted to make sure and break in and let you know that when you're hearing my audio go way down and then back up, it has nothing to do with the system. It's simply the settings that I had on this microphone, because it's meant to be used kind of like a podcast microphone and be real up close and personal with it. If I sit back here, you're going to hear the same thing happen again. Quiet, and then you'll hear it actually kick in and get all the volume through. But if I back up here and I'm quiet, it's gonna do the same thing. And so I just wanted to kind of break in and do that, so when you're watching it, you're not like, wow, his system is really messed up and the audio is really messed up. It's simply a setting on my microphone that I forgot to change. However, I didn't want to break everything back out and go through that entire 25-minute video again. So I'm going to let you go back to the video. Just wanted to make that clear. When you hear the audio go up and down, has nothing to do with the system, has everything to do with what I set my microphone to do. And I forgot to undo that for the video. So it is what it is, but back to the video. It's pretty exciting how easy this is, but I had a lot of questions from people that are saying, we're not technical savvy. We don't know if we'll be able to set it up or not. And so I wanted to shoot this video just to show you exactly how to do it. And it's actually very, very simple. And I'm actually using one of our kits to shoot this video, and I'm using multiple cameras, and I've got a Stream Deck set over here. So I'm gonna give you the wide view of our little studio here, and you can see now that I have my Stream Deck over here. This is one of the extra large Stream Decks. It's kind of overkill. I'm not using most of the buttons, but this is it. And I've got basically 4 camera views set up here. I've got the one that's above my desk, and you can see that's wide angle, and I'm way down low. I'm not framed very well at all. That's because I'm sitting at this little white table. But then I have adjusted, and this is the same camera. It's just kind of cropped in so that you can see how you can do multiple views from that camera. On this side over here, I've got the wide angle as well, and then I've got the cropped in version so you can kind of see what I'm doing. So here we are, and you can see OBS right now. I am recording through the Open Broadcasting software. I'm not streaming, I'm actually recording. I've got a microphone here just out of frame, and this microphone is running through an audio interface into the computer. And so that's my computer over here. This computer is a premium one camera setup, and all we've done is configured the software in the computer, and now we're going to set it up from start to finish, and hopefully this will be easy to follow along with. And so it does look like there's a lot of junk here, but all of this serves a purpose. So the first thing that we're going to do is, I'm going to actually switch back to this camera. Maybe you can see it better. At the beginning of the tower at the very top, there's always this green and purple kind of weird hookup here that we don't use anymore. And right next to it is usually 2 USB ports. Those are for your mouse and your keyboard. Doesn't matter which one goes where, but those are traditionally the inputs for your mouse and your keyboard. So I'm going to plug these in here. Well, got it upside down. I'm going to plug that in, and I'm going to take my mouse. Where's the USB in for the mouse? There it is. And I'm going to plug that in here. So I've got this sitting backwards, so it's going to look really crowded and cramped here. But on the desk, it's going to look very cluttered. But now I've got my keyboard and I've got my mouse, and I've got the power plugged into the computer here. That's just plugged into a power source. And then here I've got, oh, I've also got the monitor plugged in, by the way. But I've got right here, this is the HDMI cord coming from the monitor. And this is important because when you see this, so I'm going to switch back over here. When you see this coming from the factory, there's an HDMI thing right here. When you see the setup instructions that we give, it always says don't use. It's because this HDMI port is actually coming from the motherboard, and we want to plug into our video card. We want our video card to power our monitors. So I'm going to plug this right into here. And on a one camera kit, it's always going to look exactly like this. But on a multiple camera kit, we'll actually have another card here that looks very similar to this. So you can see there's like one, 2, and 3. Let me pull these out. There's 1, 2, 3, 4 outputs. It's 2 HDMIs and 2 display ports. When you have a multiple camera setup, the only difference between the single camera and the multiple camera is that there will be another card down here below that'll have 4 HDMI inputs. But since this is a one camera setup, we're going to keep it as simple as possible. But I did want you to know that because to hook up a one camera kit, we basically use USB capture cards that look kind of like this thing. This is the Elgato Camlink. This is one of the ones that we use. We use a variety of different capture cards. They're all really good, but they plug in USB. You can see the USB in there, and then they have the HDMI input right here, and that's where we will plug the camera into. So, I'm going to plug my monitor in, and then I'm going to power on the system and let it boot up. Try to get all these cords cleaned up here. So you should be able to see everything that happens. Monitor should be on. There it goes. We're booting up. Actually going to just keep it on the wide angle view for now. And once that gets booted up, we're going to connect our camera first. So when this boots up, you see here, going to close this. It detected my keyboard, so it's trying to install software for that. But you'll basically have your desktop here. I'm going to zoom in here. So we have our desktop here, and I'm going to open up OBS, and I'm just going to make it full screen. So here's OBS Studio. Now, if you ever see it looking like this and it has one big window, that's because you're in kind of the simple mode. If you look over here on the side over here in the little menu, you'll see studio mode. When you click that, it's going to have 2. And the reason it has 2 is because this side over here becomes a preview. And if you have multiple cameras, multiple things going, if you're running a projector and all that kind of stuff, you can actually look at what's on that feed before you show it live. And everything that happens over here under program is what is actually going live to the live feed. So I am going to hook up our USB capture card. Now, I'm just, for the sake of keeping everything organized, I'm actually using a little bit, this is a extension cable. It's not included. I'm just using it today just because, but you don't have to use one. But you plug in this Camlink and you put it into one of the dark blue slots. These are the USB 3.0 slots, and you just plug it in right there. And now the next thing that we're going to do, now that we have this all up, we have OBS ready to go, we have the Camlink installed. Now I'm going to want to connect the camera to the computer. Now we're going to do this like it's a premium setup, and we have the camera a long way away. But you're going to get a power adapter, which comes in a box that looks like this. I've already got one out. This is basically what it looks like. You plug one into the power, and then it gives you this little dummy battery thing right here, which just looks like a battery with a cord coming out of the bottom of it. So I'm going to plug this into power over here somewhere. There we go. Now I'm going to take my camera out of the packaging, and I've never turned this camera on before. This is a Sony a6100. I'm going to open up the battery pack, and you can see there's on this battery right here. Try to block my face so it'll actually come in focus. What you'll see is that there's a little electronic thing right there, and inside the camera there's actually a little port that hits, so it will only go in one way, and it's curved. It's really easy to figure out, but you just push it in and it snaps into place. It won't come out. The only thing is this door, because this cable is poking out here, the door won't actually shut, which some people end up just taking it off because it's cleaner that way. I like to leave it on just in case I want to use the camera for anything else. There is a battery included. I can put the battery in and run around and use the camera like it's not streaming. So I like to leave it on. Some people take it off. So that's the first thing. Now I'm going to take this little tripod simply because I'm going to want to set the camera up. This is not included, but you can pick whichever tripod, whatever you want. But I'm going to set this up here so you can kind of see what's going on. And I'm going to turn on the power. And I'm going to take the lens cap off. So I'm going to select English as my language. All of this should be done before you get your camera, but I'm literally going from the very start. So here we go. We got an image of the Stream Deck, kind of. Let me align this so we're going to shoot the Stream Deck. So maybe it'll focus in on that. So the first thing that I'm going to want to do is, again, this is all done before you get it. I'm switching this around to video mode, and then I'm going to go into, and I'm going to set the settings, and all of this is done before you get the camera, but just in case you're curious, I'm going to go in and set some settings here. So the first setting I'm going to choose is going through. So I'm going to change the ISO from auto, and I'm just going to set it manually here to look like I'm just going to stop at 1000. And now I'm going to go back into the menu. I'm going to go to the next one, and I'm going to change the white balance to I'm just going to put cloudy. It looks kind of normal there. Menu. Now you'll want to set the ISO and white balance yourself because it just depends on your sanctuary, the lighting, and all of that. But we do have tutorials on that on the website on how to actually do that. But I set them kind of preliminary. It might work, might not. I set the peak setting, so just in case you want to use manual focus instead of autofocus. Some churches prefer just to set the focus and leave it. You can do that. The computer over here is dinging, it's updating, so that's nice. But I like to set the peak setting so that when you're in manual focus, you can, it's a little thing that shows you what it's actually focused on. It'll highlight it in red. But unless you're using manual focus, you'll probably never notice that. Then I'm going to go to exposure mode, and I'm going to put that on manual because it's important. You got to dial in the exposure for your sanctuary. It's different in every single sanctuary. I switched the proxy recording to on, which you don't need to know that. I just do it. And then I go over to, let's see, what's the next setting? There's a setting in here. I've got to turn the HDMI. So I'm going to turn the power save time off. All right, we're almost there. HDMI settings, and I'm turning the resolution to high. I'm turning the info off so we get clean HDMI out, and there we go. We should be ready to go. Now I'm going to pretend that I just got this and it's all been pre-configured. There's just a couple of settings that I want to choose. Number one, I'm going to say I'm going to say in this instance that I don't want autofocus. I want to focus in on like the pulpit or maybe a piano or something, and I want to leave it there. I don't want it to shift. You know, if somebody else walks up, I don't want it to detect another face and focus in on that. I want it to stay. So I'm going to choose manual focus. And the way I do this is I just go into the menu, and I'll go to menu, let's see, it's menu 5 of 11, and I'm going to click on focus mode, and I'm going to turn this to manual focus. Now, in manual focus, you can't necessarily see it right now, but it peaks on whatever I'm focusing on, and I'll demonstrate this in a minute. But I'm wanting to focus on that Stream Deck right here, so I've got it focused in on that. The second setting that I'm going to want to set is the white balance, and it's in here. The second one is actually ISO, and since it's kind of dark in here, I'm just gonna turn it up to 4,000. Now this is not normal. You'll probably have it around 800, 600, something like that, maybe even lower. But it just depends on your sanctuary. The last thing I'm gonna set is the white balance, and I want the white balance to look like the whites are white. And kind of to demonstrate that, I've got two cameras going here. If you see this one, you're gonna notice my skin tones are a little bit different in this view than they are in this view. I'm much cooler here, I'm warmer here. That's the white balance. So I've got custom white balance because I use that camera all the time. And then this camera is usually in the other room, and I didn't adjust any white balance. So when I switch to it, you're gonna see that it's kind of true white. Well, I've warmed this one up so I don't seem so pale. And that's really all there is to it. So you choose the white balance that best sets your room and your lighting. Another thing to notice here on the recording is that in this view, the room is kind of dark and cozy. In this view, it's very bright and white. That's the difference in ISO. I've got ISO set to 100 on this camera, and I've got ISO set to, I think, 800 on that camera, or 600, something like that. So you can see the difference in the brightness. And so ISO is brightness, and then white balance is kind of warm and cool. So you just have to choose which one you like. So the three settings that you'll have to worry about when you set this up is just whether you want manual focus or autofocus, and then whether you want, you need to custom set the ISO setting and the white balance setting. And that's very easy to do. We have a tutorial on that, so I'm not gonna take up any more time going on that. So the next thing that I wanna do, now that we've got our camera on, we've got the settings set, and now we need to connect it to the computer. Now, I need a couple of cords for this. This cord right here is the camera HDMI cord that comes included with every package. It's included. I'm going to take this twisty tie off and take this twisty tie off. Now, I'm going to set it up like it's a basic package. So most of the time when someone sets up a one camera kit, it's either basic or premium. With basic, you plug right in from the camera right into the capture card. And so I'm going to plug in here. You've got a setting here. You just pull this door, the door opens, and you plug this cord right into the mini HDMI or the micro HDMI port. And now this camera is hooked up to the capture card. Now already, I've got cords kind of everywhere, but I'm going to jump over here into OBS, and hopefully you can see everything that I'm doing here. I'm going to jump into OBS, and we have tutorials on this. You probably won't be able to see the screen very easy, but I'm going to go down into the bottom left over here, and I'm going to set a scene, and then I'm going to come to this second area right here, and I'm going to choose an input device. Now, since I'm using a USB capture card, I'm going to go to video capture device, and I'm going to click OK, and then it already detected the cam link. So you can see what's on the image here is what this camera is setting. And all you have to do, I mean, that's it. Now I can stream right from there. No more setup required. It's focused on the Stream Deck. I can change the focus to, I can change the focus to the monitor behind. I can change it to the Stream Deck. I'm just going to go back to the Stream Deck here, focus in on it. And now if I was to make this really large, turn off studio mode, you can see that the camera is working right now. And that's all you have to do. And then of course, to set up, just like I have this camera here, it's a zoomed in view, zoomed out view, zoomed in view, zoomed out view. Same with this one, zoomed in view, zoomed out view, zoomed in view. If I want to do that, which I show you how to do all of this in the tutorials, I'm just going to come down and create a new scene, and this one's going to be zoomed in. And then I'm going to add a source, which is the second box, and I'm going to use a scene this time. I'm going to choose the first one, and now I can resize this to be zoomed in just on the, zoom in just on the Stream Deck here. Zoom in really good and close. All right, so now I have two scenes. I'm going to go back to studio mode. So you can see over here, I've switched views. This is just preview. I can go through all of the scenes that I set up and preview them over there, and then hit the transition button, and it's going to transition to this. If I now have the close-up view, let's switch back so you can see the big one. I've got this view, which is the zoomed out view, and I've got this one, which is the zoomed in view. And it's really that simple. It's so easy to set up. So now let's stop for a second, and let's imagine that your camera is not close enough to just plug directly into the PC. So the budget kit, basic kit, this is the way most people hook it up, and they've got, you know, the camera right here, right next to the computer, and they're ready to go. However, in some instances, which happens with the premium kits, the camera needs to be 100, 200 feet away, maybe in the next room from the computer, and they're a long ways away from each other. And so this cord can't plug directly into the back of the computer. When that happens, I'm going to unplug the camera here. We have to have another option when that happens, and that is where we get the premium. What's included with the premium kit is these signal extenders, and they look something like this. They vary a little bit, but they look pretty much identical to this. When you get them, you'll have two boxes. One box is marked, if you can see. I don't know if it's I got to block my face because it says transmitter, and then you have one that says receiver. So the transmitter is going to sit next to the camera. The receiver is going to sit next to the computer. Okay, so I'm going to hook all of this up, and I apologize. I know this is sloppy, but I'm trying to do it like you will do it in your location, although you'll have a lot more room than I do. So I'm going to unwrap this. This is the power cord for the signal extenders. It needs to be plugged into the transmitter. So I'm going to plug this into the transmitter here. And I'm going to now plug this into power. Now my transmitter is powered, and I'm going to take the HDMI cord from the camera that we previously plugged right into the capture card, and instead of going into the capture card, I'm going to plug it into the HDMI in. It says HDMI in right here. I'm going to plug it in right there, and now I've got a signal going to my signal transmitter here, and now I've got the receiver over here. So I need to hook my receiver up to the capture card, or I might plug it directly into there if I have a multi-camera setup. And I'm going to open this box. That wasn't very pretty. Got a HDMI cord in here. So I'm going to get rid of this box. Open this up. So unlike the cord that connects to the camera, this one is just a traditional HDMI, so it's the large HDMI size on both ends. And I'm going to plug one end of it into my capture card, which is hooked up to the computer by USB, and I'm going to plug the other end into the HDMI out. So we have HDMI in over here, HDMI out over here on the receiver, and now we have both of these systems hooked up. So how do we get this one, which is, you know, way off in another room somewhere, or 200 feet away from the computer. How do we get it connected to this one? This is where the Ethernet cable comes into play, and we customize this for every customer that buys a premium kit. We want to make sure you get cables long enough, but this cable is actually going to plug into one end here, and then the other end I'm going to run all the way over, and this cable's 100 feet long, so that's why it's in the floor. I'm going to plug it into this one over here, and now they're going to start talking. And you see now, we now have a signal from our camera here, and once again we have both of the scenes. See that? It's really that easy. I can go back into studio mode now, and I've got the preview over here. I've got that. That's as easy as it is. That's how you set everything up. So now you got this camera set up somewhere, you got this all hooked up, and it's connected to your OBS. Now there are some settings in OBS that you will have to do, but those you can just look at the tutorials on our tutorials page, and it walks you right through how to set up OBS. The only other thing that'll be different with basic and premium kits, not with the budget kit, but you'll get a Stream Deck. Now there's 3 different kinds of Stream Decks. With the one camera kit, we send the Stream Deck Mini, which has, I think, 6 buttons on it. And then with the multiple camera kits, we send the Stream Deck, the original Stream Deck, which is 15 buttons. And then you can also, if you ever want to buy the extra large Stream Deck, which is, I think, 32 buttons, something like that. Like I said, I only use a few buttons. I don't use very many at all. So it's kind of overkill, but I liked it, so I bought it. But that's literally all there is to it. And once you have that set up, you can start streaming now from your computer. I know this video went 25 minutes. I could literally, if I wasn't trying to make a video and explain everything, I could do this within 10 minutes. It is really that kind of self-explanatory. The only difference between this and a multi-camera kit is that instead of hooking up to a USB capture card, you would be plugging right into another card that sits right here, and there will be 4 inputs, numbered 1, 2, 3, and 4. And you plug camera 1 into 1, camera 2 into 2, camera 3 into 3, so on and so forth, whatever inputs you want to put into there. And that card sits here, but it's only included with multiple camera setups. So that's it. Hopefully that was helpful. If you are still looking for some answers, still not sure if you can handle it, we're always standing by to help our customers. We can set up a call, a support call if needed, and we'll just have to do that by appointment, and we can make sure that you get everything set up the way that it needs to be set up. And hopefully that just shows how easy this is to set up, and then one single volunteer can control all the different things. As you've seen here, while I've been recording this, I've actually been managing the stream through the Stream Deck, switching camera views and everything else, kind of absent-mindedly. It's that easy. So hopefully that helps. Thank you for watching, and we look forward to helping you set up your live streaming. Thanks.